day, folks. Welcome to Just Omer, and my name is Omer Ahern Jr., and I'm here as the Grafton County Commissioner from here in Grafton County, New Hampshire, and I represent the 17 towns in District 3, from starting up in the Warren area over to Campton and down to Canaan and Bristol and Alexandria and Holderness, and including the towns of Plymouth and Grafton and Wentworth and all the towns in the southeastern part of Grafton County. And I'm in my third term, but it's not a consecutive term as a Grafton County Commissioner. The purpose of Just Omer is to keep the folks in my district, District 3, through the kind auspices of the Pemmy Baker TV, PBTV, who allow me this opportunity each week to come and talk with you folks. But again, the purpose of Just Omer is to let you folks know what is going on in your Grafton County government. The Grafton County complex is located up in North Haverhill, New Hampshire, and by state statute, the Grafton County Commissioners are responsible for managing and the operation of the county nursing home. We have about 132 beds there at the Grafton County Nursing Home, which I discussed in my last segment of Just Omer. We're also responsible for the operation of the county correctional facility, the House of Correction and the county jail, which has a potential population of about 150 inmates there. We call them residents of the Department of Corrections. Right now, we're down to just around 44 residents at the Department of Corrections up there in North Haverhill. And we're also responsible for the operation of the county farm. And we have a county dairy operation. We also grow vegetables. And we have a 750-acre tree farm up there. We're growing northern forest species, pine, white pine, hemlock, and oak. So we're responsible for that by state statute. We're also responsible for making a budget for county government. So in addition to coming up with a budget for the nursing home, the Department of Corrections, and the farm, we're also responsible for working with the Register of Deeds, the Sheriff's Department, and the treasurer, the county treasurer, to come up with a budget, a proposed budget. And that's what we're working on right now. We've been working on the fiscal year 2022 budget from as early, well, we've been talking about it since the beginning of January when I was sworn in on January 6th. But we have to have the budget in place, proposed budget, to pass on to the county delegation. And the county delegation is made up of the members of the House of Representatives, the state reps that represent all of the towns in Grafton County. So they're the ones that actually vote either to adopt, approve the commissioner's proposed budget, or they can change it. They can add to the budget, or they can detract from the budget, reduce the budget. They do have a certain amount of time within which to either adopt, accept the budget, or reject the budget, but they have a certain time period to do that. If they fail to meet that statutory deadline with regard to the commissioner's proposed budget, if they don't act by that statutory deadline, then the county commissioner's proposed budget becomes the default budget. And very seldom does that happen. So most of the meetings that the commissioners are having right now with the department heads, the information technology, the maintenance department, and of course the county farm. We're talking about budgetary items and the needs of an ongoing operation and the nursing home to make sure that we're meeting the obligations to provide the best care we can for the residents in the nursing home and to provide safely and securely the inmates in the House of Correction. Unfortunately, from a revenue point of view, our revenues are down primarily because of the pandemic, the COVID-19 thing that we're dealing with. We have had a reduction in our nursing home residents because of the quarantining issues and so on, and because the courts have not 100% shut down, but because of the governor's lockdown orders, the courts have not been doing any jury trials, and they are doing a few things. But so therefore, our population in our Department of Corrections is way down. Now, that has an ancillary challenge to the operations at the Grafton County complex, because we use inmate labor to do some of the maintenance work around there, like shoveling snow in the wintertime, sweeping the walkways and the parking lots, and working in the dairy farm and on the farm itself. So without inmate labor, we're not able to do all the things we would like to do on the dairy farm. But we're maintaining our dairy farm operations right now. In fact, yesterday, April 13th, was our regular weekly meeting, and one of the department heads that met with the county commissioners yesterday was Grant Nelson, the farm manager. He's a relatively new farm manager. I think he's been farm manager since last October. So his farm report indicates that we are at present milking 77 cows, averaging 77 pounds of milk per cow. And we are shipping somewhere around 10,800 pounds of milk. And we are selling that milk every other day to Agrimark. And we're getting about $17.74 per hundredweight of that milk we're selling to Agrimark. So the farm has been getting revenue all this time during the pandemic. He reports that June will be a busy calving month with 15 cows and 8 heifers expected to give birth, and that's kind of a prerequisite before they can start to give milk. He reports that they have just one inmate who is able to help with the milking chores. So the farm staff is really working hard because we have to milk 2 times a day. There is one milking that starts at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the other milking starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's something that has to be done twice a day. He reports that the old flock of chickens that aren't really laying very many eggs, they are leaving. They left on April 7th, and we have 125 new laying hens coming in sometime this week. And these eggs we feed into the House of Correction. I believe we feed some into the nursing home, and then we also sell eggs to the public. So that brings in a little bit more income for the farm. We are getting ready for the planting season, and because of the reduction in the inmate labor force, we are not planting the vegetable gardens that we normally do. We just don't have the labor to work in the gardens, to do the weeding, to do the planting, do the weeding, do the harvestings. But we are, because we're trying to increase our mechanization at the county farm, we are going to be doing potatoes, 5 acres of potatoes this year. We're going to be growing winter squash, buttercup, butternut, and then we'll be growing sweet corn. Again, that can all be easily planted with the planting equipment behind the tractor. And the sweet corn will be fed to the residents of the Department of Corrections. Right now, when you look at the Cisco food manifest, what is fed into the House of Correction every week, to be perfectly honest with you, the inmates in the House of Correction eat better than most of my constituents in my district, District 3 of Grafton County. And because of that, and we're spending almost $200,000 a year feeding the residents in the Department of Corrections, the inmates. And so because of that, I've asked the other two commissioners, and they have approved a new plan called FarmDoc, Farm Department of Corrections, with the main intent of feeding the residents in the Department of Corrections, the inmates, almost totally off of the farm, the dairy farm and the vegetable farm, so that we're not spending that kind of money on Cisco. And so we're planning on that. We're working toward processing our own milk and making our own cheese, making our own butter, making our own yogurt right there on the farm, and feeding that into the Department of Corrections inmates for them to eat, and hopefully save the taxpayers some money. And I'll be talking more about FarmDoc as we go forward. So that's very quickly the farm report. We also had a report on yesterday morning, Tuesday, April 13th, from our Grafton County Attorney, Attorney Marcy Hornick. And we had asked her a couple of weeks ago to give us a kind of a report on how many county attorneys, assistant county attorneys, deputy county attorney, how many deputy county attorneys there are working in the Grafton County Attorney's Office. And so she presented us with some written documentation and some figures. And basically, there are, counting the county attorney herself, she reports that there are 9 attorneys that are employed by Grafton County. And she gave us a report on how many years each of these attorneys have been licensed to practice law in the state of New Hampshire, and she gave me a report on that. So, the county attorney herself, she's been practicing law in New Hampshire for 18 years. There are 2 deputy county attorneys. One has been practicing for 17 years. The other one has been practicing for 26 years. And then we have several other assistant county attorneys whose time practicing law in New Hampshire ranges from 3 years to 17 years. And the types of cases that they handle, we have a couple of our assistant county attorneys who are under contract with a couple of the towns here in Grafton County to do their circuit court work, and the commissioners are looking into that as to whether or not that is an appropriate use of the county attorney's office time. But the county attorney's office is involved with bad checks, drug possessions, elder abuse, failure to register felons in possession, fish and game issues, habitual offenders, internet crimes, juvenile delinquency petitions, and many types of cases that are tried. Ultimately, if they go to trial, if they're not settled, plea bargained ahead of time in our court system here in Grafton County. And evidently, there's just about 95% to 98% of the cases that come into the county attorney's office result in pleas. So there are no trials associated with those, but there's still, anywhere from 5 to 4% of the cases that come into the office that involve jury trials going on. And so there's a lot of money being spent at the county attorney's office, and the county commissioners are indeed looking into that. Again, expenses are going up because, we have long-term employees, and we have, we're trying to address cost of living adjustments, and there are step increases that are being considered. We do have 2 labor unions up there at Grafton County that we have to deal with. So there's a lot of things that enter into this whole budget situation, and why it's important to you folks is because ultimately any expenses that the county makes that are not offset by revenue from the Register of Deeds office or from the county farm or from grants that we can get brought in, that money's got to be made up by you, the taxpayers. And right now, the taxpayers in New Hampshire and in Grafton County, you're overtaxed. We are overtaxed. I'm a taxpayer. I pay taxes to the town of Plymouth, and I pay taxes to the town of Wentworth. And I tell you, the tax burden is out of control. And so one of my goals is to try to make sure that there is no increase in the county tax burden for the fiscal year 2022. I can't guarantee that that's what's going to happen, but I am working towards that. And we're asking some very tough questions of the department heads and the elected officials. And we're trying to find new sources of revenue. And again, that's one of the things that the Farm Doc program is looking at. What can the farm, with all of our land up there, beautiful farmland, what can we do with that land to bring in more income so that we can reduce our tax burden on you folks, the taxpayers? And speaking of that, ultimately, the budget is going to be passed by your state representatives in their capacity as members of the county delegation. And I ask you sincerely to contact your members of the county delegation and tell them that you don't want to see an increase in your taxes. If you, and I don't mean to be facetious here, but if you're not worried about your taxes, there are a lot of others in your communities that are. And I just see a lot of the elderly folks and the folks with families. A lot of folks were laid off during the pandemic. Even though the federal government sent you out a check for $1,400 a couple of times here in the last year or so, that's quickly, that goes very, very quickly when you're paying for, heating fuel and you're paying for electricity. And I would say that most all of you are buying food. And, food is an expensive thing. So I'm trying to make it so that you're paying at least not an increase in your county taxes. But you've got to talk with your county delegation members and tell them that you don't want to see an increase in your county taxes. While they're in Concord, they're passing laws that do send more expenses on to the counties to have to pay. And you've got to remind them not to do that. When they're in Concord, they're wearing one hat, responsible for the whole state of New Hampshire and the New Hampshire state budget, which was passed this past week by the House, and is now in the hands of the New Hampshire State Senate for them to work on. But in Grafton County, again, as I've said, the Grafton County delegation, they're the ones that ultimately pass the county budget. We also, on yesterday, Tuesday morning, we had a long discussion with Sheriff Stiegler, the Grafton County Sheriff. In the Constitution, that title is referenced as the High Sheriff. And we're talking about some of the things that he's looking for in his budget. He's looking for some new communications devices, radios, for his cruisers. He's looking for some more body cams for his deputy sheriffs when they're out on the road, when they're doing special assignments. He's also looking at getting some new software so that they can operate some of this new high-tech equipment that has been entrusted to the Grafton County Sheriff's Department for doing cyber crime investigations, whether that's child porn or scams, things like that. So we spent a lot of time talking with Sheriff Stigler and a couple of his staff members there yesterday morning. We spent a lot of time talking with him. Again, a lot of expenses coming out of the Sheriff's Department. They have 12 cruisers that need to be serviced, and they have technical equipment in there, radios and cameras and things. And again, we're talking about those costs, those expenses, and they're pretty significant. The other thing that we talked about is his working to improve the leadership skills of the deputy sheriffs at the Grafton County Sheriff's Department, and working with the FBI training programs, and where we were talking about that, and how many of his deputies can we send on for further training. And of course, one of the things we're all worried about, we hear it in the news. You know what's going on in Minneapolis, and you know we want to make sure that our law enforcement men and women are using always the best decision-making and judgment calls that they can make, because it's a, you know, when you're out there in the street or out there on the side roads of Grafton County, and you got to make a decision, you got to make that decision very rapidly. And so this training, yes, it's important, but again, we're dealing. You know, some of his staff have already received this training, and but you know, trying to bring his entire staff up, that's an issue that we need to deal with. So there's a lot of time spent dealing with a lot of issues, partly because of the RSAs, the revised statute annotated laws, the state statutes that we have to deal with. And so we had an emergency meeting yesterday with Jim Oakes, who is our maintenance supervisor, maintenance director, and we're in the process of looking at the situation at our county courthouse, which was built back in the early 1970s, and there's a lot of aging infrastructure in that courthouse. And so we've hired an engineering firm to look as to what can we do with that aging courthouse. You know, we've been, you know, it's been identified that we don't really have up-to-date and appropriate air conditioning and air transfer processes within that building. And again, with the COVID-19 thing and people coming in and out, although the courthouse is closed right now, you know, we hope to have it open. But there's going to be some lingering issues with this COVID-19. And so he had an issue that he needed to bring up to us that we had to discuss in order to be in keeping with the requirements of the various RSAs. And this RSA that had to be addressed was RSA 28:8. And the cost of things, and when the commissioners have to approve an increase in cost. County government is very important. There are 10 counties here in the state of New Hampshire. There are 3 county commissioners in each county. There is a Register of Deeds in each county, and every time you buy or sell a piece of property, the Registry of Deeds is involved. And so also yesterday we had a report from our Grafton County Registrar of Deeds, Kelly Monahan. And the Register of Deeds throughout this pandemic is the only agency within Grafton County that had a very excellent increase in income. There's a lot of people that feel moving to New Hampshire, and Grafton County especially, is a good idea. We've had people from California and New York and New Jersey that want to come to New Hampshire, and with this virtual, not training, but virtual. Oh, you young people know what I'm talking about, when you can do things on the internet and you can go to Zoom meetings. But because people can do that from home and work from home because of all this technology, they're looking at New Hampshire as a wonderful place to live and work from. The only challenge that we have in Grafton County in a lot of places is we don't have the bandwidth. We don't have the technology that allows this all to happen. And I know that Spectrum is working in that area. The New Hampshire Electric Cooperative is working in that area. But people are still buying houses up here. They're buying homes, and they're moving here. And so as a result, Register of Deeds Monahan has done an outstanding job, she and her staff, in meeting this extra influx of demand upon the Register of Deeds office. So I thank Register of Deeds Monahan for her good service as an elected official, and I want to thank all of the department heads at Grafton County and all of the people that work at Grafton County. In my mind, it's a great place to work. We're looking for people to work in the nursing home as LNAs, LPNs. We're looking for people to work in the dietary department. We're looking for people to work in the House of Corrections as corrections officers. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you get a job at Grafton County, it's a long-term job. I mean, you don't necessarily have to commit to it long-term, but the opportunity for you to work there your entire adult life as an employee are very, very good, and the benefits are very, very good. So I want to thank you all for you're giving me the opportunity to serve as your Grafton County Commissioner. It is a very time-consuming job on so many fronts, but I appreciate the opportunity to serve you all. If you have any questions of me, you can certainly reach me. My telephone number is 764-6024. You can also reach me at omer.ahern.jr@gmail.com. And I'm glad to hear from you. In fact, I had a call from a constituent last week with a concern at one of the concerns with a resident at the nursing home. Not something that the nursing home was doing wrong, but something dealing with an issue that he wanted to bring to my attention. So in closing, I just want to say thank you. Contact your state reps, and God bless the granite state of New Hampshire, and God bless America. Thank you, and take care.